To you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Monday, we welcome all of you to the show, especially if you're just joining us right now on KUM Facebook page, and Landon Aydlett from the National Weather Service with some very, very nice AirPods. I think the Senator, Frank Blas Jr., had those too. There you go. Landon,
yes,
interesting weather this past weekend. You know, really nice blue skies. I was going to wash my car, and then wouldn't you know it, like it rains for 20 minutes, and then it goes back to being, you know, the clearest of clear. So what is up with that?
Yeah, you're in the wrong place.
Ah.
Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend, depending on where you were. We had what we call the island convection type weather pattern across the island. So not everybody saw the action, but some people got heavy showers, some thunderstorms, especially if you're on the western half of the island or off on the coastal waters on the west of Guam.
Now, is that kind of an anomaly? Because typically with island weather here, you know, like if one village, we pretty much just assume at this point, you know, like if one of us gets rain, we're all going to get rain.
Yeah, it depends on the weather pattern. So when you have these light wind patterns in place, and that's where we are right now for at least another 24 hours, you have that convection that pops up over the island. And I have this in my slides that I will show you in more detail very shortly. Some villages will see the action, and other villages will be sunny and dry all day long. And so if you think back several years ago, I think it was when the Micronesia Cultural Fair used to be held at Epau Beach in October, there was such an event that developed over Tuma and Tumuning area, and they had several inches of flash flooding rainfall in a very short period of time, flooded out Epau Beach. It made a big mess of the Micronesia Cultural Fair. Other parts of Guam were sunny and dry. And so it's in these scenarios that you can drive just a mile and have a difference between flash flooding, rainfall, and sunny and dry conditions. And so that's where it gets tricky in the wet season when the trade winds, slack off considerably.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that I always kind of like, I admit, I get a little cringy or I get skeeved out is when, you know, we get those weird sun showers just like in the middle of the day, but especially in that stretch of road between Father Duenas and between UOG, because, and it's, you know, nothing about the weather, but because it's so hot, then it rains so quickly and then just stops. The road really gets like that steam that comes out of it, and you know, it can be quite slippery.
Steamy. Yeah, it gets steamy up there, then it gets slick. So that's my biggest fear, is having either a Jeep Wrangler with all-terrain tires or a motorcycle. When you have that glaze of water on that freshly wet surface, it's like driving on ice. You'll slip and slide all over the place if you have to stop in a short distance or time. So always, when the roads are wet, increase your space between the car in front of you, because things can happen really quick before you're even aware of it.
There you go. All right, man. So what does this week look for us?
Well, this week, it's going to be a little bit of a change. So it's going to be kind of a repeat of yesterday. But if you see at the tail end of this loop, this is morning, this is last night, the winds are pushing up from the southeast. So you have the development across Tumuning, Tuman, Agate, PD, Arodi Point, Jigo. All that stuff is popping up over shore and moving over the western waters. Today we have more of an east trade wind flow, but the winds are still light enough that we could still see some development, but it might be just enough wind to keep all the convective growth, the showers and thunderstorms, extremely over the western parts of the island, like Agate, PD, and NCS area, or offshore to the west. Now, if we zoom out, it's pretty quiet out there. We do see a little pinch zone over here. You see the clouds kind of coming together. You have the ridge up here, the flow coming up that way. You have the trade winds over here. It's kind of a transitional zone that we're in, because farther north, you have a surface trough. You also have an upper level low generating all the showers and thunderstorms to our northwest. And then farther to the south, we have this convergence zone of a surface trough across the outer islands of Chuuk and parts of the Federated States of Micronesia. So we're in that quiet area, but the winds, again, are light enough to give us that island convection through this afternoon. And then the winds will start picking up a little bit more for Tuesday, Wednesday. And then this broader pattern is going to be lifting up this way. So in my headline, I do mention there's a disturbance in the force, and that's going to be part of the surface trough as it eventually sweeps up over the Mariana Islands in Western Micronesia. That's going to change our wind pattern, or weather flow for the region mid to late week. So I'm going to throw up these green lines. These are the surface winds, the computer-generated surface winds showing the trade winds across the area, and then all this other stuff going on over there with that, the surface trough and also some ridging. The blue lines, these are the winds at flight level for the airliners. These are the upper level winds showing that broad upper level low up here that's helped triggering those showers and thunderstorms. They're going to stay out of our area for now. So we're going to be looking more at the surface for the week ahead. So go ahead and pull up the slides, Jason. A lot to talk about. Plus, we're going to take a little trip down memory lane. So again, there is a disturbance in the forest coming this week, and some of the models are generating the possibility of a tropical cyclone late in the week. Where is that going to be? Well, it looks like it's going to be more north of our area, but that's just a couple of several weather models. So it's not a significant threat for us. And right now it looks like the Mariana Islands are out of that threat area. But that's a possibility as a part of this gradual change in the regional weather pattern. Risk of rip currents are moderate along east-facing reefs, and the Guam fire danger remains low. There's been just enough rainfall to keep that fire danger low, but it is abnormally dry for this time of the year. Most of our rainfall comes from tropical disturbances and cyclones, and we've had a drought of those systems coming through the region. Across Micronesia, not much change with the drier conditions in the east and wetter conditions in central Micronesia. The next slide, not bad out there this morning. Mostly sunny skies with just some passing clouds and maybe some brief light showers, but that's about it. But look at the ground rainfall at the bottom. Yesterday, just a trace of an inch, but record for the day, that was 10.2 inches set back in 2013. Those were in my early years here on the island. I was still a junior forecaster way back then. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Since September 1st, we've had 3 3/4 inches of rain, and we're down below for the month and the year, coming up on 16 inches below normal for the year. But the next slide, this is just a toss back from where we were last year. And so if you look on the images to the right, this is the polar orbiting scatterometry showing those winds at the surface. We had a disturbance over the Mariana Islands, and we had wind gusts. I'm looking at my Facebook page, my memories. Facebook is great for sending you memories, for better or for worse. 10.2 inches of rain at the office yesterday and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts over Apra Harbor overnight. Schools were canceled, roads littered with tree debris, island-wide. Water levels were running way high. Be safe, Guam. That was my post on September 20th, 2013. And that's because of that broad disturbance here. It wasn't a tropical depression, not a tropical storm, but just a disturbance. And it generated all those winds and the heavy rains. Parts of southern Guam saw over a foot of rain in a 24-hour period. And this large cyclone to the west of us near Philippines, that was Typhoon Usagi, which later became Super Typhoon, passing between northern Philippines and Taiwan. So again, the bottom line to take away from this is it does not have to have a name to cause problems. It does not have to be a tropical depression, tropical storm, or typhoon to generate some massive problems, because this little disturbance dumped between a foot and a half of rain across where Guam with 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And what did that look like? Well, the next slide shows you some photos. I was getting off work at 6 o'clock that morning. I went and had breakfast at King's at 6:30 in the morning, and it was beautifully dark. All the streetlights were on for at least through 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock that morning, and it was a fantastic breakfast. I was sitting by the window watching the rain just come down in sheets. That waterfall, that's Lower Segua Falls. This was the day after the flooding rains, and it was still raging that hard. I also brought my paddleboard to the office. We were paddleboarding just outside our front door in that large drainage pond. It can get up to about 7 to 8 feet deep when it's full of water. Then my street in front of my house in Aspen was fully flooded, as well as Paradise, Sagana. The parking lot underneath the gym was flooded. So if you had a Jeep, you had the parking lot to yourself. It was fantastic. So again, tropical disturbances, they don't have to be big and powerful, but they can generate some major problems for the island. So that's why we always say maintain a level of preparedness throughout the year. The next slide, not much change with the drought conditions across the island. There was abundant rainfall for the Marshall Islands, but abundantly wet across the rest of the region. No suspect areas that the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is looking at this time. That's good. That could change later this week, depending on how things evolve. But again, we're not looking at any threat for the Mariana Islands at this time. So that is the good news. The scatterometry showing the winds across the region this morning, We are watching that surface trough near Pompeii and Kosrae up toward Kwajalein, generating the showers and thunderstorms across central Micronesia. That's going to be coming toward the northwest and up over our area by later this week. So drier weather today and tomorrow, but then the showers will begin to increase Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as this surface trough moves up over the Mariana Islands. The next slide, again, this is the sea breeze versus land breeze scenario. So in the daytime, the land warms up faster than the water. When you have the light winds and no trade winds, you get convection over the island. That's where we were the last couple of days. But if there's enough wind, it'll push that convection offshore over the waters, and that causes problems over the island. At nighttime, if the trade winds are weak or non-existent, that pattern reverses and your convection is up over the water. So again, this is what we're talking about when we talk about island convection events on our social media. So the next page, the sea conditions are going to be pretty much flatlining the next several days at combined seas of 3 to 5 feet. Not too bad out there with the primary east swell and wind waves around 2 feet or less. So really not a bad week to be on the water. Just watch out for the skies. Keep an eye out to the skies for any developing thunderstorms. And for the week ahead, again, not bad today. Potential for island convection this afternoon, but it won't be widespread. Midweek, the showers and thunderstorms will develop around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as that surface trough across Micronesia lifts up over our area. That could, again, possibly generate some tropical weather, but outside of the immediate Mariana Islands area. The weekend, a little bit drier, but not too bad. So that's all I've got. Again, always keep a close watch on the weather forecast for any changes in trends and conditions. But again, not a bad week for us.
Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it. And now we're going to move swiftly, as fast as the weather changes here, as Landon so professionally said, to our own Tomas Manglonia, who has today's daily question.
Good morning, Tomas.
Good morning, everyone. So we asked on Thursday. About whether or not people are ready for face-to-face learning, ready to